Welcome back. In this video, as promised, it's up to you to complete a challenge using promise chaining. So down below, I have the challenge comments outlining what I'd like you to do, and the goal is to just mess around with promise chaining. You're going to create a new file, promise chaining 2, that can live alongside of promise chaining, and do go ahead and create the second file. It won't make much of a difference in this particular video, but it will have an impact on the next couple of lectures. We want a separate file for those two examples. Next up, you want to load in Mongoose and the task model so they can be used similar to what we did up here. And then it comes to the two asynchronous things you're going to do. The first thing you want to do is remove a given task by its ID, and then after that, you want to figure out how many incomplete tasks you still have left. So you want to count up the total number of documents where completed is false. Once you have all of that in place, you want to make sure that you do print that count, and finally, you want to test your work. Now, you already know how to count up the number of documents. That's something we've done before. But how do you delete a given task by its ID? Well, if we head back over to the Mongoose documentation and go to that queries guide, which we've been to before, there are a few methods available for getting this done. Now, we have delete many and delete one, but we also have variations that use find. I have find by ID and delete, and I have find one and delete. What I'd like you to do is use find by ID and delete, which is really simple to work with. All you do is pass in the ID of the thing you're trying to find and delete. There are no other arguments required. So take some time to knock all of that out and test your work. Make sure your count is indeed updating when expected. Then come back and click play. Welcome back. Let's go ahead and get to it. What I'm going to do is create that new file for this challenge right here in the playground directory, the one that's in Task Manager. I'm going to create promise-chaining 2.js, and here we'll work through that second example. Now, to make things a bit easier, I'm going to copy the challenge comments from the first file over to the second one so I can actually see them as I'm working through things. The first thing we want to do is load in Mongoose and that task model. That would be two calls to require the first ../source/db/mongoose, and we're not actually getting anything back from that require call. The second is what we're going to use to get back the task model. So I'll create a constant for that. Right here, require ../source. Then inside of the models directory, we have the task script. Perfect. Now that we have things in place, we can go ahead and start the process of removing a task by its ID. And to get that done, I need an ID of one of my tasks. So over inside of Robo3T, I'll head over to the task collection. Now I only have one, when I refresh, I have 4. And if I head over to the table view, we can get an idea of what exactly we have here. Now, none of my tasks are completed, so currently the count should be 4 in terms of how many things I still have to do. I'm going to go ahead and delete this task, the one that says eat lunch. I'll copy the ID to the clipboard so I can use it inside of my code. And over here, we're going to use task dot. The method I had talked about was find by ID and delete. This takes in the ID of the thing you're trying to remove. I'll paste that right inside of some quotes as the first argument. Then we toss on our then call. There's nothing left to do. So right here, .then. Now you didn't need to do anything with the result. So you could have actually left the callback like this. There's no need to grab it unless we're going to use it. Optionally, maybe you did create a variable for it like task and dumped it to the terminal. That would have worked as well. Either way is perfectly fine. That wasn't the main point of the challenge. So once we have the task removed, we want to go ahead and get the count so we can actually print it. Right here, to use promise chaining, we'll return the next promise. That would be task.countDocuments. And remember, we provide our criteria for filtering. In this case, we want to find those incomplete tasks. So those are the ones where completed is equal to false. Now we can add on the second then call to do something when the count operation is complete. Right here, we're going to get that count, and all we're going to do is print it to the terminal. Console.log, printing the result. Last up, we'll add a little catch call to handle any potential errors. We'll just get the error and we'll dump it to the console. Excellent. With this in place, we're actually all done, and now we can go ahead and test things out. I'm going to try to run this code, remove the task, and view the count. Now, the current count is 4, but after I delete it, I would expect the count to be 3. I'll use Control-C to shut things down, and then I'll use node playground/promise chaining 2.js. I'm going to go ahead and run that script. I can see the document that got deleted, and I can see the number 3, which is fantastic. Now, if I refresh things over inside of Robo3T, I would expect that document to go away, and it does. And from here, let's just go ahead and delete one more. I'll go ahead and delete the one that tells me to finish the node course because I have that twice. I'll delete the second one. Right here, right-click, edit document. I'm going to grab the ID, and once again, we'll bring that over to Visual Studio Code. I'll paste it right in, save the file, and we'll rerun that script. This time, I would expect the final count to be 2. I run the program, and what do I get? I get the deleted document, then down below, I get 2. So there we have it, a little example using promise chaining to do one thing after something else with our tasks. That's where we're going to stop for this video. Now, before we jump back into building out new endpoints for the Task Manager API, there is one more important topic I want to cover. That is async await, and we're going to start talking about it in the next lesson. I am super excited to get to that feature because it really is a game changer when it comes to asynchronous programming. So let's go ahead and jump right in.